Hello, welcome to the Parent Phonics Workshop of Autumn 2020. So I'm just going to run through a few things so you understand what phonics is and how we teach it here at Central Park. So phonics is the key to reading and writing. So it helps your child to be able to read, and obviously, as you can see there, reading feeds the imagination and helps them make sense of the world around them. So we teach phonics in reception year 1 and year 2, as they're the main years for learning to read. Phonics is also taught in years 3 and 4 for the children who haven't yet met the expectations of Key Stage 1. This year, obviously, there'll be many children in year 3 and year 4 who will also be requiring phonics due to having missed school during lockdown. So we are putting in things in place for those children, and there are some phonics lessons taking place in year 3 and 4 this year as well. We assess the children every half term to ensure that your child is in the right group for them, and so that we can track any child that's not making progress. So as you can see, the groups here, they progress in colours, and in each group we build upon the group before. So we teach more and more sounds, and the words get a little bit more trickier. In phonics, the children all are required to join in, so it's sort of a whole class activity where the teacher will speak and the children will copy what is said. So basically, what is phonics? Phonics is breaking down of words into sounds. So the sounds, each word is made up of a sound, and then the child blends them together to be able to read. So for example, in mat, we have m, a, t, and those three sounds can be blended together to make m, at, mat. Or ship would be sh, I, p, ship. We also have graphemes. In Read Write Ink we call them special friends, and that is where there's more than one letter that makes a sound. So in Read Write Ink we have lots and lots of special friends, which your child, I'm sure, will tell you about. So like I said, we blend them together to be able to read, and then they have to also segment them to be able to write. So they have to know, for example, that cup, when they're writing it, the cup can be segmented into k, up, and they can write those down. And when they're blending, they need to be able to see the sounds k, up, and put them back together to make the word. So the children at the beginning stage will have to be able to do this orally. And down in reception, and at the moment many year 1s will be working on this skill. So that's when we would say words to them and they have to tell us what the word is. So for example, I would say to the children, get your k oat. And they have to know that those three sounds, k, oat, when they blend them together makes the word coat. And so they would go and get their coat. So this is a very important skill. If the children can't do this, then that's the foundation for being able to read and write. So we do a lot of work, and we call that Fred Talks. So there's a lot of work on that, getting the children to be able to hear this. So that's something you could do at home. If you're aware that your child's maybe not doing that, is you could try and break the sounds down and get them to do things. So you might say, stand up, and then they have to work out up, and the p makes up, up. And then they would stand up. Or get your plate, plate. So these are lots of things that you can do at home. And I can send you a sheet home for Fred Games to give you some ideas for that. So again, you could link it in with Simon Says. Simon Says, get your plate, plate. And then they have to work out what you mean. So when we teach phonics, we start at something called Step 1 sounds. And those are generally your alphabet sounds with a few special friends in there, as you can see on the top here. And the children have sound charts, which is all of the letters below, in a chart on their walls. And when we teach the phonics, we always refer to that, so they know when they're writing, they can also look at that. So groups A, B, C, ditties and reds, if your child is in one of those groups, they would still be working on being able to use their Step 1 sounds, their alphabet letters and their special friends for their reading and their writing. So the Step 1 sounds, on one side of the cards they have the sound, and on the other side they have a picture which links to a handwriting pattern. So the M, for example, is the M for Maisie Mountain, and they learn a handwriting phrase for how to write each of those letters. I can give a handout if you require one, which tells you all the handwriting phrases, so that as your child is trying to write those sounds at home, you could say the phrase or remind them of the phrase so they know how to do it. For example, on the dinosaur, at the bottom of the card, you can see it says the handwriting phrase, round his bottom, up his tall neck and down to his feet. So the child would say that as they go round his bottom, up to his tall neck and down to his feet. So So as you can see, all of the set 1 sounds, all of the alphabet letters have got a sound, and then the picture is morphed into the sound. So the picture covers the sound, so they have a visual. So when they're trying to remember the A, they can picture the apple, because it starts with the same sound, and they would remember the handwriting phrase for how to draw an A based on the picture apple. So here is a link to a video which you can watch in your own time. It is a little girl here, and she's pronouncing all of these sounds in set 1 and set 2, so that if you are unsure of the sounds, you can watch this video to learn them, but also your child will benefit from just watching the sounds, and they can say the sounds with the little girl. There's a link at the bottom that you can use to find this video. So some of the sounds are pronounced as stretchy sounds. For example, not f. F is very short, and also it's not clear or pure because you sound like you've got an on the end. So we have s, v, z, sh, Okay, so those are all long sounds. So it's very important that children say them as stretchy sounds and not as a short bouncy sound with an It's not f, l, m, n. Those are incorrect pronunciations of those sounds. We then have the bouncy ones, which do have the k, h, p, t, ch. Okay, not k, h, p, t, k, h, p, t. Okay, they are said very clear and very pure. Again, as you can see, you just go through. It tells you whether they're bouncy and whether they have the S. We've got b, d, g, j, w, y. So here is the sheet, which is on the left side you can see the set 1s, and that's all of the handwriting patterns to teach the children how to write the letters. And then set 2 and set 3 sounds, that shows you the order the sounds are taught in, but the set 2 and the set 3 don't have a handwriting rhyme because they already know how to write those letters, but they have a phrase that helps them remember that sound. So again, here are the set 2, and that is generally children who are in green and purple group will be beginning to learn their set 2 sounds. And as you can see here, on the back of the cards would be where there would be a picture, and the picture would be linked to the sound. Okay, so for example, the IE makes an I sound, and we would talk about the picture, and we would say terrible tie, terrible tie. So they learn that the I is the I sound like in terrible tie. And each one of the cards would have a phrase on the back. So here they'd learn the sound. We would look at this picture and we say, oh, there's some children playing here. And the little girl comes over and she says, may I play? A, may I play? And the children would learn the phrase, A, may I play? And the same with the next one, AW. We would be teaching them that the or, like yawn at dawn. So we would talk about the picture. Oh, look, there's some lovely birds here and the sun has just come up. It is dawn. And they've just woken up and they're having a big yawn. Yawn at dawn. Or yawn at dawn. So here you can see the set 3 sounds. They've been highlighted in this. This is all the sounds that are building up. So from set 1, set 2, set 3, they build together to make a big sound chart that is up in the classrooms. And the pink, orange and yellow groups are working on these, and then the blue group will be reviewing them. They should know them, but they will be reviewing them. So in your phonics lesson, the children are taught the sounds and the phrase that goes with them. They are then taught to read some green words related to their new sound, but they also then learn review some green words using sounds that they've previously been taught. We then also do some reading in one of the colour books according to whichever their group they are in. So that is the organisation really of the phonics lesson. So I'm just going to show you sort of how we would teach it so that you know when you're at home how the children will be expected to read their words. So when we are first teaching them a sound, I've just taught them the sound I, for example. So I would have these dots and the dashes on the bottom of my word, drawing their attention to where the special friends are. Because they've just learnt it, they're not sure where those special friends are yet, so we draw the dots and the dashes to show them. A dot indicates one letter, one sound, and if there is a dash, that means there's more than one letter makes one sound, so they would be special friends. So when the children are reading the words, I would say to them special friends, and they would say I. And then I would say Fred talk. They would say I, t, light. And then I would repeat the word light to them to reinforce that that is their word. So that's the first thing that they do when they are reading a sound. They would do special friends, Fred talk, read the word. So if your child is stuck on a word, you might use those phrases with them to help remind them and jog their memory of what to do. So you would say, oh, can you see any special friends? Fred talk, read the word. Fred talk is talking like Fred the frog at the bottom of the page. Fred the frog talks in sounds. He doesn't read words, he talks in their sounds. So they are imitating Fred when they do their sounds. We then progress on to removing off the dots and the dashes. So once they are familiar with that sound, so it would be the next day when you are reviewing sounds, we would have no dots and dashes to see if they could recognise the special friends all by themselves. And we would do the same again. We would do special friends, Fred talk, read the word, and then we would get them to do it in their head. This is an important part of reading, so that they are learning that they can read out loud, but also how to read in their head. So in their head, I would say special friends, and in their head, they would say the I sound. And then they would do Fred in their head, and in their head, they would do light. And then when I push the card out, the whole class would say the read the word of light. So they would do every element in their head exactly the same as the first time, but they would just say the whole word out loud when I push out the card. I would then go through lots of words in my review pack, maybe about 6 to 8 words, which have got sounds they've previously been taught and they are going to be reading them speedily. So I would just whiz through this pack quickly because they've already read those words with their Fred talk, then they've read them with their Fred in their head, and now they would be building up their fluency by reading them speedily. So each session, when we teach our speed sounds, we will be developing different skills. So can you Fred talk? Can you sound out words? Can you read words in your head? And can you build up your fluency by reading them speedily? So we also in Year 1 have a phonics screening test, which is a government statutory test. So this takes place in June, and all children in Year 1 will be expected to take this screening test. Due to the test being cancelled last year due to COVID, the current Year 2s did not take their screening test in Year 1, so they will be expected to take it in Year 2. The Year 2s are due to take their screening test at the end of November, and any child that does not pass the screening test will then be expected to retake it again in June with the current Year 1s. So to do this, your child will need to recognise all of their Set 1 to Set 3 sounds, and they need to be able to read them in real words but also nonsense words. And the purpose of the nonsense words is just to test, can the children use those skills? Can the children recognise their special friends? And can the children sound out each individual sound and blend words together? Because often when they're real words, children will have learnt them by rote, so it doesn't necessarily show that they know their sounds, it just shows that they know that word. And that is why some nonsense words are thrown in. So for example, on these words here, the first one, they would do special friends, Fred talk, read the word. So they would say to me, shh, that's the special friend. Then they would say, shh, b, that's Fred talking. And then they would read the word by saying, shh, b, sheb. They're not to turn it into a real word because these are nonsense words, and we would say to them, what a load of nonsense. So that to reinforce to them, this isn't a real word, this is a load of nonsense. So we also use our phonics for writing, and to do this the children use something called their Fred fingers. So when there is a word, they have to use their fingers to work out how many sounds are in that word. And this ensures they don't miss any sounds out when they are writing it, because often children rush their writing, so miss some sounds, or they aren't able to hear some of the sounds, for example, the middle sound. So when they write mat, they might just write and a t, because those are the key sounds they can hear, and they forget that they have heard the middle sound. So for example, if I was saying to them how many sounds in mat, I would clink my fingers at then I would pinch another one, and pinch another one, t. So I would hold up 3 fingers, at, so they can see the order of those sounds and how many sounds there are. We would then discuss there were 3 sounds, at, 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 and then they would be expected to write the sounds on their paper, remembering there are 3 of them, at. They would use their fingers that they have just pinched to write the word. For example, spray, we would sound out s, p, r, a, and they would see there are 4 sounds in that word. S, p, r, a, spray. They would pinch each of their fingers every time they say a sound. So s, pinch the finger, p, pinch their finger, r, pinch their finger, a, pinch their finger, spray. Then they would be expected to write down the word. So when children are breaking down words for their writing, it's called segmenting, and they need to be able to hear all of the sounds in that word and slowly break it down. So shelf, they need to be able to use their fed fingers to say sh, e, l, f. There are 4 sounds that they need to write. Dress, d, r, e, s. Think, th, I, nk. String, st, r, I, n. Sprint, sp, r, I, nt. And flick, f, l, I, k. Your child will also be bringing home a phonics book. These are books that we read in class when we are reading. You can find some phonics books online at Oxford Owl. I advise for you to go and look at these books, because if you need to read through any extra ones that you are not sent home, then you can use some of them on here. There will also be some books related to your phonics level on Bug Club for you to look as well. So at home, you can help your child read by using your Read Write Ink books. As you can see here, this one says the Get Fit Club. Okay, and here it tells you the sounds that they are going to be looking at in this book are the A, E, I, O, U. So it is the vowel sounds. So when you open the book, it will give you advice on how to use the book. It's important that you know how to use the book, because these books are special teaching books and not just for the children to read. So have a little look through so that you can work out what everything means and how to read it. It will then have this page with the speed sounds. Before you read the book, the child has to point to all of those sounds to tell you what they are. So they would go through all of them. You might point in a random order, or they might point going through in their order, and they have to tell you what all of those sounds are. Your child should know all of those sounds for that book, because the only sounds in that book are the sounds your child has already been taught. So for example, this is a green book, so there's only sounds in there that a child in green group would already know. The reason this is because if they are trying to read words with sounds they don't know, they are already at a disadvantage and they won't be able to read those words. That will then decrease their confidence, their motivation, and in their progress in phonics and their progress in reading. So go through all of those sounds with the child. They have to tell you what they all are. And then on the next one, it says the vowels. So again, you would show them the vowels there, and they would tell you what sounds each vowel makes. Here, then, next page, there are story green words. Those are the green words that will come up in the story that they would need to know. So in italics at the top, you can see it says, ask children to read the words first in Fred talk, then say the word. So remember, Fred talk is when you say each sound. So for example, their child will say, op, hop. And then they would read the next word, it, fit. As the child reads those, you would then be able to work out what they're struggling with, because as they're reading that word, if they point at hop but they can't say some of those letters, you know that they don't know that that p is a p. So you would then know what they are missing. Or when they're trying to blend them together, they might say n, and then not know what the word is. So we would then be able to identify what their gaps were and what they need to work on. So if your child can't blend it together, then we need to do lots more oral blending where we keep saying things and seeing if they can hear it. So I would say n, run. On this page, you can see there's red words. Red words are words that cannot be sounded out. So your child will just have to learn those by rote. So again, they just need to practice reading those. And the more they see them, the more familiar they will become with them. And those words are words they will just have to learn. When you get to the next page, it has a little introduction. So that's an introduction about the story. So the children have a background to the story. They know what the book's about. So that bit you would read to them. So the introduction you would read to your child before they start reading the book. And then they would start reading. They can read in Fred talk and read the word, or they can read speedily. So if they are confident, or you know they're confident, encourage them to try and do their speedy reading rather than sound out every word. The red words are highlighted in red so that the child knows, I can't sound out that word, that is a red word, it's one I just need to learn. At the back of the book, there are some questions to talk about to test their comprehension. So you would read these questions to them to discuss the book. So you can see it says on page 8 and 9, what exercise came after hopping? So you'd go back to 8 and 9, look at the pages and see if the children could remember the story or use the pictures or reread the text to see if they could answer that question. There's also some speedy green words. So these are green words. These are words that they can sound out, but yet you want them to be reading them fluently now because they've seen them a lot during their phonics lessons and they should be reading them speedily. So here is a link to all of the online ebooks that I told you about. So if you follow that link, you'll be able to find those. You do have to join Oxford Owl, but it's free. There's not a subscription, but you do have to join join to be able to access those books. Another way to help their fluency is to jump in. So, for example, it might be that in class we turn take reading the text, and they have to be following it. So if you are reading with them, if you're taking turns, they have to know when it's their turn. They have to be following the text to know. So you might start reading the beginning. So, for example, up here it says, first you must check your turn, and then they would carry on in your bags. One way we do it as well is we stop at the full stop, because this reinforces their grammar and reminder of where we have to have full stops, and they have to be noticing this so they know. So you might say at the beginning, okay, we're going to take turns, and every time there's a full stop, we're going to swap. So you would read, first you must check in your bags, and they would automatically then carry on, then you must show your passport. That shows they're following the words that you're reading, recognising a full stop and knowing it's their turn then to go in. So how can you help your child at home? So I've already told you a few ways with the reading of your book and do some Fred talk. So it's important, like I said, to use your pure sound. So f, not f, l, not l. And I know this is very tricky if you're not familiar with phonics, but like I said, you can watch the videos and that will help you. Do not do letter names because the children don't need to know those. They need to know the sounds. So they need to know f and l, not f and l. Because if they are trying to blend a word together and say they are blending fat and they say F-A-T, if they blend that together, F8, F-A-T, F-A-T, F-8, it's not going to make the word fat. Practice the sounds on the cards and understand Fred and how he helps. So understand that the children will be reading to you in Fred. This is embedded from reception all the way up. So they know special friends and they know Fred talk. So if you are trying to help them, then just give them the cues. Special friends, Fred talk, read the word, and that should remind them of what they're looking for and what they need to be doing. For younger children, as I said, or if your child is struggling to blend, if you're able to sound out any words, then that will really help them. So instead of instead of I spy something starting with F, you might be doing I spy something starting with and then say the sound. So because that would help them look around and try and see things that start with a F rather than having to work out the letter name of F. You could also say, to do the sounds, I spy something that sounds like but-ox, and see if they can blend but-ox together to say, you've seen a box. So as I said, these are the stages. We use our special friends Fred talk, read the word, and then practice reading them speedily. It's practice, 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 review, review, review. So the more the children see the words, the more they practice it, the more fluent they will become. So remind your child to use their Fred fingers when they're spelling and for their special friends. You can find a complex sound chart with all the sounds on it. If you Google Read, Write, Ink complex sound chart, you will see the sound charts that the children will be using and are on the wall. You should also be able to Google Read, Write, Ink sounds, and there should be some images which have the sound and the picture cards. At home, it's important that you listen to your child read every day. So they'll have they'll have two phonics books, one that they read in class and one that's a storybook that will be sent home. You will have the same book for the whole week. Okay, so your child will say, I've read that, but the idea is that they read the same book every day, because the first day they might struggle with a few words and the next day they might have then remembered those words. And then by the fourth read of that book, they should then be developing their fluency. They shouldn't be trying to still sound out the words because they've read those words 4 times now. They should just know those words and be able to read them speedily. And the purpose of reading it that many times is we are building up their fluency. So the first time they're learning, and then the more and more they read it, the more they know that book, the more familiar they are, the more confident they are, and the more fluent they are in reading it. You can make the biggest difference to your child's success by encouraging them to read as much and as widely as you can at home. Daily reading will make a huge difference in their progress in their reading. So, as I said, you can access things online. On Oxford Owl, they've also got a section for parents where, like I said there, you can see the free ebooks, but they've also got some resources for your Set 1, Set 2 and Set 3s. So here are some sheets that we often send as part of your home learning that you could download for your child to access at home in addition. And as I said previously, if you log on to Bug Club, your teacher will have assigned you some books related to your child's reading levels for you to read online. So there is a wealth of resources out there. There's lots of books, so we'll be sending books home, but like I said, there's lots of books online. So please, please, please get reading. When you're reading, you can also develop their comprehension and their inferencing skills by looking at this question matrix. So when we ask questions, the very top top left where it says what is, those are the simpler questions. They are don't require much deep thinking. So once your child is really secure in those sorts of questions, try and move along the row and down the column. So the bottom right where it says might, how might the character do this, how might you do that, that requires much more deeper thinking for the child, because there's not an answer, it's like a might. So they have to make a prediction, they have to make an inference of how might something happen. So if you change your wording with your questioning, that will develop the type of questions your child is having to answer and whether they are deep questioning. Of course, taking your child to the library so they can see the wealth of books there and getting them to get a book to free read is also a brilliant experience for them becoming fluent readers. Often the books in the library, like I said, wouldn't be at your child's level, but it's very important they have an access to other books that you can read to them. This also builds their imagination and their creativity for their English lessons and for their story writing, because the phonic books are often quite short because the words all have to be phonetic. So they really need to have access as well to the more creative storybooks that you would read them at bedtime. This can be in your own language or it can be in English. The important thing is for them to just have a wealth of books and a love of reading and stories. Developing their vocabulary is also a great skill, so trying to change up the words that you use. So instead of saying let's eat our lunch, you might think of other synonyms for eat. So let's munch our lunch, let's scoff our lunch, let's devour our lunch. Okay, it builds up the children's vocabulary, and in books there might be vocab that they don't understand, so we would then draw attention to this and explain it. Children love looking up new words and they love using exciting words in their writing and in their speech. So here are some more links for some online resources. So the Ruth Miscon parent page is where you can find the pronunciation, but if you look through, it's got lots of videos and useful things for you to do. You can also subscribe to the Ruth Miscon Facebook page, where they'll post lots of videos of phonics that you could watch and your child could watch. And there's also those free ebooks for you to access. So here is the Ruth Miscon parent page. So at the bottom you can see there's lots of different videos there that you could watch. And that is about it for today. So thank you for watching the phonics. If you have any questions about how we teach phonics or what groups your child's on, then please contact your class teachers through Google Classroom and they will refer you on to me. So if there's anything I can help you with, I'll be more than happy. I've got access to all of the Year 1 and Year 2 Google Classroom accounts, so I will be able to respond to you on there as well. I hope you found this useful. If there's anything you need, like I said, please let your class teacher know. And good luck with all your reading, and good luck with your phonics, and good luck with the progress of your child. Thank you very much.